One of the key skills in movement is being able to deliberately shift your weight, both shifting your entire weight into something to push and also redistributing the way you're stacking your mass over your base of support, which is your feet. I'm going to show you some drills which are going to help you to understand this in the context of flexing and extending your spine. And it's going to show you where your spine is restricted and where your balance is also restricted because that area of you isn't moving. So start with your feet close to a wall. I take just under a foot distance. A foot is pretty tricky for this one. You have to imagine this drill is done on rice paper or a glass wall. Imagine that there are ants on here that you don't want to crush. Super, super, super delicate touch. Now keep that delicate touch as you touch your bum and then roll to touch your belt line and then your lower back. And what you'll notice is there are parts where you can't just float off at will, parts where you start to feel a bit more heavy or committed to the wall. For me, that's like right here, in the middle of my T-spine. I can't flex it as much. And you can see that. Watch now if I round. You can see my upper back and lower back round a bit more. The middle doesn't flex as much. I'm working on that. So here, I'm probably gonna find that as I get to that point, it's harder for me to come off the wall without pushing, which is cheating. So the way to overcome this is going to have to be to displace my center of mass more from that segment here. And I can do that in a couple of ways. The first is to bend my knees and send them forward, which is going to help me shift my mass that way, but it's going to make my ankles a bit shorter, so it's kind of hard to pull. The second is to reach further with my hands and my head. And now I can float off the wall quite easily because I've displaced my mass, and that displacement comes from the reaching, and that's what helps me to access spinal flexion in balance. So I'm getting as much of my body away from that one point as possible while keeping the tactile cue. If that's easy, the next thing you do is come further away and you retest, working through the same touch points, rolling all the way up the spine, but without leaning on the wall. You've got to stay light. There's an extension version too, where you start by just touching the knees, and then you touch the thighs, and then you touch the hips. What you'll notice here is the reaching applies backwards and with the head in the same way. So if I'm on the wall here, I can't expect to get off this wall without punching into it, which is cheating, or reaching my arms behind me, and now I can come off. Now if I'm even further from the wall, and you do want to do this drill with each segment up the front, just as we did with the back, then the only way to get off from, say, here, is going to be to really extend my upper back and move my hips away and reach. And now I can come off. So we're using this reaching and balancing tool combo to access the extension of that part of the spine. And then when you stand normally, it's going to give you a really good idea of how the weight shift will affect your posture and put you in strange positions. Overall, what we want is for you to be able to access a really good understanding of the line of gravity through your spine so that you have a more meaningful forward and a more meaningful back. And that way you're not getting stuck in one or the other. No posture is wrong unless it's a posture that you can't move from, that you have no options in, and that you're not comfortable in. Hope this helps.